Welcome to another episode of Bitcoining. I am your host, Fong Chua, and of course, we have Shin and Chan with us. And on the show, we're talking about everything on Bitcoin, crypto, investments, our emotions, things that we're thinking about when we're investing, all that great stuff. Welcome back. Hi, Shin. Hi, Chan.
Hey,
Hey,
Fong.
Fong.
Hey, so what's up? What's up in the world of crypto and Bitcoin over the last couple of weeks here, and what can we expect coming up?
Go
Shin?
for it, Shane.
Oh, well, in the Bitcoin world, um, price-wise, things aren't that exciting. So people who watch the price only, I think that dictates if Bitcoin is doing something or not, are probably pretty bored or probably pretty concerned that Bitcoin hasn't shot up to the moon yet, as people are saying. I think if you look behind the scenes in terms of what's happening, you can see the large wallets are accumulating, meaning like the big players are buying up lots of Bitcoin. That's always a good sign. The network hash rate is going up, meaning people are continuing to put more and more equipment and hardware and money, time, effort into the network. That's a good sign. Mastercard launched something interesting in Europe where you could use your Bitcoin as payment. So if that comes to the US, that'd be great. So the banks, financial institutions are starting to adopt it. They're getting on it. All those things are good. It kind of pushes it forward. It's not dead. Even the price drops to 40. I mean, whatever the price drops to goes up to. Bitcoin's not dead. It's still growing. So those are all good signs. So I think we're still in the right space. Like I said, every episode, it's still early, still time to get in. And the fact that the price hasn't shot up is probably a better time to get in after it has.
Mm.
But like most people will do, you're not going to buy it until it's in the news and the price is, 70, 80, 90, 100K. Then people will start buying it and they wonder why they bought at the top.
And I think we mentioned last time that lots of people are also thinking about what's the impact that the upcoming election is going to have. And having having that in the forefront, what should people consider? Like, should they buy more and jump in now, or wait until after the election happens and then go, okay, this is what we should do? Because you also track what some of the big players are doing behind the scenes. What are they doing that may foreshadow what's going to happen later?
Ooh, another tricky question. I think it's hard to say. It's like kind of trying to predict which way the economy is going to go. A lot of people are still under impression that a recession is guaranteed. That's going to happen. Um, some people are like, "Well, what recession? Nothing's happened." People have been calling for a recession for a year and a half, and it, hasn't really happened yet. So the political landscape is kind of the same. We don't know who's going to get elected. I think it could go either way. Depending on what news source you read, you will lean one way or the other. And even the policies, I mean, Trump has been pretty pro Bitcoin. Kamala Harris hasn't really stated a lot of her policies yet towards Bitcoin, and she's kind of seems a little bit still open to listening to people, hopefully. In the past, she has been kind of anti-crypto. So when she shot up in the polls, when she was first nominated, I guess, as the next candidate for the presidency, Bitcoin seemed to go down a little bit, or the market seemed to go down. They thought maybe she was not as pro economy as Trump would be. But now that maybe Trump is kind of leading a little bit more on some polls, it's gone back up. But realistically, it's anyone's guess
Hmm.
at this point.
So really, the impact won't happen until like the day of, pretty much. Once the
Yeah,
results are tallied in and announced, then you're gonna see a movement in Bitcoin and crypto.
exactly. There's going to be a surprise come election day, I'm sure. One way or the other, people, there's going to be angry people and happy people and surprised people. So
So
until that day, we don't
you're
know.
gonna have you're gonna have your finger on the pulse and say, buy, sell. Ready to go.
It could be. I mean, it happens even with CPI data some days, right? The market moves up and down because people are all guessing. That's the nature of markets. That's the good thing, right? Anyone can guess whichever way they want, and they can be right or wrong. Even if it goes the way you think it is going to, the market may go a different way. It's a wild game.
That is very interesting stuff. Looking forward to seeing what's gonna happen in the next what couple of weeks now, or less than 2 months.
Yeah, that's in 2 months, beginning of November.
And I'm pretty sure we'll have lots of updates leading up to that. Now, something that we all see a lot on social media now is talk about Bitcoin. talk about crypto. I personally get a lot of email and a lot of posts and a lot of questions about, hey, are you interested in Bitcoin? Are you interested in crypto? Come buy this. Come join my group. Come do this. Come do that. And it's sometimes we're bombarded by all this information, and sometimes it may or may not be real. It could be somebody just pretending to do something, or somebody pretending to have Bitcoin, or somebody pretending to have this organization that's selling Bitcoin. There's lots of scammers out there, so there's lots of people who's a little shady. How does one protect themselves? And I think this topic is very relevant because even the best of us sometimes get roped into a scenario like that. And I know, Chan, you have a interesting story to share today about scammers, about how to protect ourselves, about how our mindset should be when it comes to working or looking into these types of investments or promotions or products.
Yeah, that's a great topic because in this space of Bitcoin and crypto, it's anyone's guess. Like normal business, we say trust but verify. And when it comes to Bitcoin, there's no trust, just verify. And someone like me who I thought, hey, I could go buy beef, I can go buy a cow. You join a Telegram group thinking, they're local group, and I put it out there. Anybody has a cow to sell? We were looking for a cow, like to share with our families. We eat a lot of beef. And so that's how the conversation thread had started. And it was me that actually went out and private messaged someone that had responded to my message. Um, and so in my thinking, legitimately thought that conversation was, legit. But I mean, I didn't have anything to verify. But when it comes to these groups, you have to assume that everyone is going in to scam you. And sometimes I, give the benefit of the doubt. And with Bitcoin, you can't track it. But this is kind of what happened is, I got the message saying, hey, this is the cost of the cow. And we were like, okay, I'll just buy half. And they sent an invoice, emailed it. And usually, like, I'm thinking they knew a lot because they were talking about cuts of the beef and, the list that they were going to send and when it was going to get butchered twice a year. And so we ended up talking on the phone even and sounded legitimate. And we even got Sheen to order a big deep freeze just to store our beef. But long story short, it just was a scam. Like I literally got scammed, like without even verifying. Didn't even wait for the beef. And so I quickly had transferred Bitcoins over just to pay for that payment. Um, and, you know, it didn't work out. So someone like me, anybody can easily get scammed. And I just want to tell everyone just to be careful on those forums, those groups. And, it's a learning lesson. Like, what can we do better is literally wait for the product before sending your crypto out, especially beef. But yeah, I was heavily invested in getting this cow. So the good news is that we do have a friend that will ship us some beef. So
One of those scenarios you're thinking with your stomach. You're like,
Yeah.
"Gotta get there."
That's a different one, right? There's not a lot of businesses yet that take Bitcoin. And so this is sort of just like a person to person kind of thing. And I think that's where scams can happen is when you understand whenever you move your crypto to someone else's wallet, you no longer control it. There's no reverse card, there's no way to get it back, there's no insurance against it. And so that's why we're saying is until the banks get involved and there's sort of a bank middleman, that's the advantage of having a bank, right? Is you have someone to verify they know both parties and they know if one person has a complaint against the other person, they're the mediator in between to fix it. That's what PayPal solved on the internet, right? People were scared of how do you really send money to people on the internet without getting scammed. The same thing kind of happened back then, except for people weren't really as savvy to put money on the internet yet. But with crypto, you can. There's tons of different scams going on. A lot of them have to do with greed. So people who are in the crypto space are looking to make money. So people are obviously trading and making money that way. anytime you sign up for any software or follow any guide to put money, your crypto into someone else's wallet to do something with, got to think that it could be a scam. Not saying every single one is, but the majority of them are. So if you don't control your crypto anymore, it could be a scam. And same goes for exchanges, right? Like it's not as common anymore, but the Quadriga exchange, which was a Canadian exchange, the guy basically said, I'm sick, I'm going to India, disappeared. He was the only one in this, I would say it's a large company, but this company that had the access to everyone's crypto keys, and it was gone. And it basically disappeared. And a lot of people are angry about that. So even things that seem fairly legit that a lot of people use for a period of time, FTX is kind of another example, although people are trying to recover their money from that, but they're out there. So anytime you don't control your own crypto, it could be gone. Someone else has access to it, someone else is using it. You don't know what they're doing with it behind the scenes a lot of times. Those are all cases where it could be scammed, but it's kind of the risk you take for the crazy gains that you can get from crypto.
Well, Chan mentioned that you can't trust, but you have to verify. So how does one verify, especially in crypto? You mentioned that until banks are involved, verifying is going to be very difficult. However, from a crypto investor perspective, you don't want the banks to be very involved because that's the whole point of it. So there's kind of give and take there. So how does somebody who is looking into these products, looking into these opportunities, wants to use their Bitcoins or crypto, how do they verify? Like, what were some of the red flags that, in retrospect, Chan, that you probably sensed or noticed that people could go, okay, that's a red flag, that's a red flag. And then also, what are some of the things that people can do to verify? What questions should they ask? What information should they get before going through with it? Because the thing is, from your perspective, you go, if I don't have the cow, you're not getting the Bitcoin. But if it was legitimate, they're like, well, if I give you my cow, how do I know you have Bitcoin? Right? So there's that aspect as well. So how does one spot the red flags and what red flags are there? And two, what are some of the things that people can ask so they can verify?
Yeah, good questions. So regarding the cow, I was talking to a friend of mine who actually deals with ranchers, and he's like, most ranchers, they will give you the cow. They will give you the cuts and they'll bill you even 3 months out, a few months out. So they should not be asking for money up front. And usually with Bitcoin, yeah, you don't want to be transferring any of your Bitcoins without any of your products, without any verification. And how do we verify? Is having a trusted partner too. So great for Shin. Like I was just like, Shin, transfer it out. And he didn't even ask me. And he trusted me. So it's nice to kind of, run it by your business partner, your spouse, and take your time, like really, really take your time. The the thought of, hodling, like holding for dear life, like it makes me think like I should not have spent those Bitcoins because I wanted to put it back into the circular system and help each other, help these businesses. And you know what? The other red flag was that invoice was not a legitimate business. It had no GST number. I didn't go down the rabbit hole of verifying that information, even though that person had called. He actually called from a Florida number. So there's a lot of these scams that are happening from, just a VPN or a voice over type of number, and they can mask it and they sound like normal people. And they may pretend to be even associates that you may think they know. So what happened where I was almost double scammed was when I was like, okay, I bought half the cow, and I was asking my sister's family, could you buy the other half of the cow? And she didn't get back to me in time. And another colleague had said, yeah, you know what? I'll buy the other half of the cow because it's a great deal. And so he had texted me on a regular text message outside of Telegram, thinking I knew this person. And I was like, the other red flag was this person never texts me. He's only communicated to me one way the last 7 years that I've known him. So that should have been a red flag. And it started kind of clicking with me. So I said, you know what? Just as a secondary check, like I'm just gonna message him how I normally do to see if he actually asked me about the cow. And sure enough, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Don't know nothing about a cow. So I went back to the other scammer and was like, you're full of shit. Like really, like seriously, like. And so he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So that kind of raised more red flags. And so we kind of stopped communication from there and didn't transfer any more funds out. But yeah, you're really invested. And so you can really get pulled into this scam. So I would just say, yeah, just take your time. Don't transfer any funds out. Check with your business partner. Make sure the company's legitimate. If they are accepting Bitcoin, they've got to have, the normal business, information, the GST number, look them up, you know, double check, verify. Have we heard of this company? Are they in Better Business Bureau? And so, yeah, that's a big lesson for sure.
Very, very
I don't know
interesting.
if you want to add anything, Shane, because you.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be people that buy things person to person too. Like, what if you go on Kijiji and you're buying a table or a car or something, right? Then you don't really know the person's not a business. There's some sort of faith that they're not a scammer, and not every person you deal with is going to be a scammer. But I think another important point is if you do get scammed, how do you take it, right? Do you get angry? There's really not a lot of repercussions for white collar crime if you got scammed. I mean, you can call the police and they can get involved, but at the end of the day, they don't have a lot of ways of figuring out who's behind these addresses. They can maybe, like you said, maybe they can flag a phone number, but those can all be spoofed. They can maybe look at the Bitcoin address, but that's easy to move and get away from. There's not really too many repercussions. So it's going to keep occurring. And I think that's the reason why there are so many scammers is there's just really not a lot of laws around it and not a lot of ways of tracking people yet. So, I mean, just be aware of that. But on a emotional level, don't also let it destroy you. I mean, the money that we lost for the cow isn't life-changing. But I know it can really upset you. And Chan was pretty upset about it. She was angry that she let this happen. And my response was basically, it's not going to make a difference. You can put your anger towards it, but if it starts affecting you to not do other things that are productive, then it's really gotten to you. The money can be replaced because the services you may lose can be replaced, right? But you can't take time away from yourself emotionally and get down on yourself mentally because those things are more important than a little bit of Bitcoin that you lose here and there. And yes, it sucks, but deal with it and move on. That's my attitude.
Now, like with regards to scamming, that happens in all industries, that happens all over the world. When there's the added element of crypto and Bitcoin transactions, what additional things do you think about or that you ask to make sure it's more legitimate? Because one of the reasons why lots of scammers like using Bitcoin and crypto is because of it not being able to be tracked. It's a little bit easier to get away with it. So because of that, are there certain elements that you now look for from a crypto space to legitimize it?
Ooh, well, the interesting thing about crypto is the addresses are often on the internet. It's a giant ledger that everyone can go and view, and so you can see what transactions they have done before. Are they pretty active in terms of buying and selling and moving crypto back and forth? Maybe it makes them more legit that they are an actual business. Is this a brand new wallet that's never had anything sent to it before? That would probably be a red flag to say, if they've never sold it before to somebody, that on the first one, that seems kind of weird. But the other thing is, with a lot of crypto wallets, you could have different receive addresses. So they could give you a different receive address than everybody else, so it could be new. So it's the technology isn't great yet for that. I think at some point there's going to be this sort of KYC knowledge with the banks, and the banks are going to say, well, this person is a legit address, they are verified. They get a blue check mark like on X or something. Say, okay, well, this person is a verified bank account, they're relatively safe to send to. There's going to be some technology progressing at some point that makes this a little bit safer. Right now, it's still the Wild West. There's still lots of ways around it, and because there's lots of wild ways around it, and there's not a lot of repercussions for stealing someone's crypto, the scams are going to continue. Unfortunately, that's probably the gist of it. So Like Chan said, probably the best way is get the product first and then send them the crypto. Or well, a lot of people have done back to back or like person to person is they either meet the person at a time or they expect because people sell crypto online. There's lots of websites where you can buy peer to peer. They expect the money in their bank account cleared before they send you the crypto, which totally makes sense because it's very easy to get scammed.
Right. No, for people out there who's listening to this and goes, I knew it. There's scams all over the place, especially with crypto and Bitcoin. Why am I ever going to consider doing any of this stuff? So having said that, for people like yourselves who always like you promote, you encourage people to get crypto, a way to hedge their wealth and also store their wealth as well. What do you say to people who goes, yeah, this is scary. This is something that concerns me. Hence, that's why I stay away. What's the mindset that people should have when it comes to these kind of scenarios so that it doesn't stop them from considering?
I think it's or there's definitely disadvantages to using Bitcoin as a means of exchange. It's not really a great currency, and that's been a lot of people's argument as to why it's not valuable. It'd be kind of like using gold and taking a bunch of gold coins around to go buy things. At some point, you're going to get scammed. Someone's going to have a fake gold coin. Someone's going to give you less than a full ounce or whatever, or there's some sort of ripoff. And it's just because anytime you're dealing with a bartering system, one person's giving someone something else, there's a chance to get scammed. And consider Bitcoin like that. If you consider Bitcoin as something that you're going to buy and hold and it's a long-term investment, a little bit different because you're not trying to use it for day-to-day transactions. So it'll get there probably within the next 3 to 5 years for sure. There'll be more and more ways of figuring out safe ways of transferring Bitcoin. The Lightning Network is taking off, and that's a little bit easier at smaller amounts, and businesses can use it. I mean, the technology is all there. It's just that the financial institutions aren't using it or not allowed to use it yet. We'll put it that way. There's a lot of roadblocks in the U.S. around U.S. banks custodian crypto, and so once those laws are changed, this will all open up. So I mean, like you said, it could be if Trump gets elected, come after November, sometime next year, these new rules and bills could be passed and things changed. But until that happens, the bank's hands are tied, and then the whole financial institution, all of the safeguards that we enjoy, even if we don't realize we have them, all those safeguards won't be in place until then.
And Jen, any thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, it's really, not just a mindset, but it's going to affect your mental health and all the psychology that goes with it, that you feel like, hey, you know what, Bitcoin's too risky, scammy, and all these things are happening. So just put your head in the sand and just forget about it. And that's not the mindset we want. And with anything in business too. And that's why you have these podcasts going so people can learn from our mistakes. And trust me, we made a ton of mistakes. Like the first 2 years of our Bitcoin education was like we were getting scammed left and right. So it's still early. It's still new, the new technology of the internet, really. So I am learning from this mistake. This is something, actually, a friend of mine, I was telling him about the scam the other day, and he runs his own business in Alberta, and he's got kids as well. And he said, you got to talk to your spouse and talk to the kids and just make sure that they're aware and they're educated, and start from the beginning of how this started, how we can learn from it. And so that's the next step, is just getting the kids together and really going through, like, because they're learning about Bitcoin, but they're not learning about all the nefarious things that could happen. So I would love to open up that conversation with my family about that. And because right now it's just Shin and I talking about it. So that's one thing. I think it's so important to learn from our mistakes and not let it affect you, and really look at this as an opportunity to grow. How do we take this opportunity of learning from our mistakes and just moving forward and putting that energy, like Shin said, to something more productive? And maybe this is like a new education that, hey, I don't want my sister to go through this, or my mother. and my friends or my colleagues to go through what I went through because it was so sophisticatedly done.
Mhm.
So, hey, maybe this is the chance to finish that book that you've been bugging me about, Fong.
I can see it now. A chapter called "Where's My Cow?" or "Where's My Beef?"
Where's my beef?
Where's the
Awesome.
beef?
Any final thoughts, any final words that you would like to share before we wrap up today?
Keep
Yeah,
DCA hodling. Dollar cost average.
that's good. Don't go down. I mean, I know people that have been in crypto, got scammed, and will never go back. And I get the mental toll it can take. Don't worry about that. It's going to be around in the long term. Buy it, like Chan said, hodl it. I think in the long run, things are still looking really good for Bitcoin. The crypto space will probably take up when Bitcoin takes off. So there's still a lot of room to grow. It's still new. Keep learning. That is probably the big thing. Take this as a learning lesson. Share your lessons, share your scams, so other people become educated based off what to look for, right? Because new scams will probably pop up. There'll be more sophisticated stuff. Just keep educating yourself because this space is going to grow. It's going to be exciting. Don't be the last one in. Get in early. And yeah, looking forward to the future.
Well said. And in the end, there's scams everywhere. Scams in everything. I mean, I got scammed for some Lego stuff that I wanted to buy. They never showed up. I thought I was getting a good deal, but nope. So I guess from my perspective, small steps. Don't commit to something that's large and a huge amount that if you lose it, it's going to cause you a lot of problems. For me, it was only $40, so I'm okay. But small steps, be aware, and always surround yourself with other people who you could bounce ideas off of, chat with and whatnot. So maybe people will reach out to you and go, hey, how do I mitigate this? How do I catch more red flags? So thank you very much, Shin and Jan, for your time. Always a pleasure. See you both in a couple of weeks. And for everybody else, remember when you are Bitcoining, you are shaping tomorrow's economy. We'll see you later.
Thanks, Fong.
Thanks,
Bye,
Tom.
guys.